Howdy folks, Matt here with Gulf Coast Fit, and today I would like to share with you a micro challenge that I'm using to attempt to build muscle in my upper body, chest, shoulders, triceps. And the challenge or the task is to complete 100 push-ups in a timely manner and in a manner that is conducive for building muscle. I like this challenge programming wise because push-ups are not something, for me personally, push-ups are not something that are very conducive typically for building strength and muscle. They're more of an endurance exercise for me. Since I can produce a lot more force than I need to push myself up off the ground, and I can do a lot of push-ups, then they are inherently much more endurance-based than hypertrophy or strength-based. But if you really follow if you take into consideration and you're mindful of principles of training, then you can put those principles to use and get what you're looking for, or address your intention behind any workout. And that's what makes training fun, is the science behind things, and then you make it your own. So 100 push-ups, that's my challenge. I'm going to time myself, although timing, the duration that it takes me isn't so important, but I'm curious to see how long this does take me. As far as completing these 100 push-ups, I'm going to take into consideration that I want to build more and more mechanical tension in my pecs. I want this to be predominantly a pec exercise. I'm going to really focus on contracting my pecs, and regardless of what variation I'm using, my focus is going to be to engage my pecs as much as possible. You want to keep in mind that building muscle is all about angles. It's geometry, essentially. Geometry pertaining to your joints and levers in your body. In this case, my wrists, elbows, shoulders, and how you angle your grip placement on push-ups will dictate what the bias or emphasis is on that type of push-up, as far as what muscle groups are being emphasized on. You want to take into consideration here, or I'm going to take into consideration, the recovery period. If I want these push-ups to be conducive for building muscle, then I need a lot of time under tension. I need to build mechanical tension, but I need the recovery periods to be short enough to where I have a high amount of time under tension. So I want to keep in mind that I want to be working longer than I'm resting during each interval. To complete these 100 push-ups, my goal is to do 10 sets of 10. You can definitely structure the rep ranges different ways to suit your needs and your capabilities. 10 sets of 10 is my goal, and there's a couple of programming parameters that I'm also going to keep into consideration. One being that I'm going to keep my recovery to 3 to 5 breaths. 3 to 5 breaths is my recovery allowance. So if I feel like I can get back to it with my next variation in just 3 breaths, I'm going to do so. Or if I need to add a breath, do 4 or 5, then I'm going to try to keep it to 5 or less. Switching up the angles and the grip placement on every single set, that's so that I keep these push-up, or this push-up challenge, more joint friendly. Push-ups are oftentimes used and abused and just overdone, and people incur all kinds of shoulder trauma or elbow tendonitis because of exercises such as push-ups, because too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and it's all about how you do it, not just going through the motions. So I'm going to change the angles up, different grip placements, different emphasis, and I'm going to time myself to try to see how long this takes me. This is my first time doing this challenge in this manner, and I'm also going to be using some bands. I've got a couple of different bands for accommodating resistance. That way I'm also getting the benefit of enhanced promotion of producing more and more force. I always like to be able to apply more force and not give up on any exercise. Adding bands to the mix with the accommodating resistance, the resistance increases throughout the range of motion, and that'll make these push-ups that much harder. I don't know how many sets I'll use the bands on, but we'll find out. So 100 push-ups, 3 to 5 breaths, sets of 10, building mechanical tension, high time under tension. Side note, I am going to have to forego my favorite type of push-up, which is a hand release push-up, or different hand release push-up variations, and this is because if I bring my body all the way to the ground and release my hands from the ground, well, the tension in my triceps, anterior delts, and pecs is no longer there. So as far as building muscle, increasing mechanical time under tension, hand release push-ups or dead stop push-ups on the ground, unfortunately, do not fit the bill. So keeping in mind what my intention is and what I need to do to tackle that intention, and in this case I'm going to have to forego my favorite type of push-up and what I feel is one of the most beneficial types of push-ups. But that's for programming purposes, and that's what training is all about, is being intelligent about what you're doing and being mindful about what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, and making sure that you expedite that progress to reaching and achieving that goal by applying principles of training and training smarter, not necessarily harder. Don't you go anywhere, Bob. Hopefully I'm in the screen here. Hopefully you don't blow over on me. Whew, I know this is about to get tough. Here we go. I'm going to go into wide grip now, more chest dominant. I'm going to go more narrow grip now, more triceps emphasis. I'm going to go one high and wide, one close and narrow now for a little scap differentiation. Mobilize the scapulas. Remember, not all breaths are created equal. 3 to 5 breaths can do you justice and be enough to recover. If you're breathing diaphragmatically, got one more. Switching it up, high and low. Might have to get rid of the band pretty shortly. I think that was 5 sets, 50, halfway.
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
It would be better if it was a little more windy, but...
Yeah, it looks like fun, man.
It would be if it were, but thanks. Have a good day, man.
You too, bro.
Thanks.
I'll consider that cheating. Maybe one more set with the band. Accommodating resistance burns your triceps out because that emphasizes on the lockout. The lockout is predominantly tricep recruitment. I go neutral grip on my fists. band. Back to wide grip. Back to mixed grip, high and low. Took 7 breaths there. I don't know if that was 80 or 90, so I'm gonna do 20 more. Always underestimate. If I forget, I should be paying better attention. Mixed grip the other way. This might be a cherry on top set, or this might just be my 10th set. Not sure. Finished perfect. Oh. 6:30. Ooh. 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 Now, how fast I got those done is not the most relevant thing in the world. I was just timing myself to see how long this micro workout would last me personally, but as long as you're prioritizing and increasing the time under tension, the mechanical tension, and feeling like you're concentrating on pushing blood into the target muscles. My triceps and my pecs right now feel very pumped. That felt pretty productive. It felt like I accomplished my task. And in just 6.5 minutes, I think that had a pretty good hypertrophic muscle building effect. That is a little bit more sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is where you increase size and strength of your muscles by pushing blood and nutrients into the muscles, and it pumps them up. Not to be confused with myofibral hypertrophy, which is where you're actually increasing the density of your muscle fibers. So a few things before I peace out. When you apply this micro workout on your own, just remember 100 reps, that's a lot of repetitions. It's a very repetitive challenge. That's why I changed up the grip. I went narrow, I went wide, I went a little more neutral grip, mixed grip. That way my wrists, elbows, shoulders were exposed to the stimulus from different angles. Again, building muscle is very much about geometry. Biomechanics is very much about geometry. So angles are very important. And also switching up the angles of my arms in relation to my torso allows me to adhere to the 3 to 5 recovery breaths. Because if I kept hammering the same type of push-up, not only would that be much more strenuous on your joints, over time that can cause pattern overload. That should be another video, pattern overload, a very real thing. From doing, again, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. But it allowed me to adhere to the 3 to 5 recovery breaths. since I switched up to a fresh variation after each set of 10. Very important on push-ups, especially high rep fatigue push-ups, to protect your lumbar spine. So breathing diaphragmatically, expanding your rib cage, inflating your belly button, bracing with that inner abdominal air pressure that makes it feel like you have a natural weight belt surrounding and protecting your lumbar spine. I'd say that's tied with number one as far as importance goes, along with protecting your shoulders and elbow joints. Remember that you can apply different rep schemes. If your goal is to get 100 push-ups, maybe you do 5 sets of 20 if you're able to. Maybe you do 20 sets of 5. I did 10 sets of 10, and they don't have to look pretty. Maybe you get 5 sets of 10, then you have to go down to 5s, then you have to go down to 3s, and you finish doing 1 rep at a time. Just as long as you are building more and more mechanical tension. And also remember that what is 100 push-ups may be more strength-based for some individuals, so lower rep ranges are appropriate. Again, I can do a lot of push-ups, so that's a little bit more endurance-based. So I'm able to play with my parameters, do 10 sets of 10 when maybe sets of 5 is best for some of you. Anything else? You want to make sure that you're focusing on your antagonistic muscles. Well, it's hard to talk right now, and now I'm really starting to sweat from that. I love that retroactive metabolic effect. Yeah, you want to focus on your antagonistic muscles. If you're pushing with your anterior, delts and chest, you want to be bracing and engaging, recruiting your posterior just as much. Recruiting your antagonistic muscles to whatever your prime movers are. That evens out things, that balances out your workout, that balances out your form and technique, so that way you stay within what proper form would be for that exercise. So that was a lot of fun. I felt like that was short, sweet, and very productive. I turned something that would have normally been muscular endurance into a muscle building exercise. That's one way to show that you can be productive with whatever your goals or intentions are in any setting, and that's what I'm here to teach you, is the programming behind things, keeping into account principles of training along with the art of applying it for yourself. We got a lot of fun stuff going on here at the park today. Puppies showing up everywhere. Gus is on the lookout. Got kiteboarders over here. So I hope you learned a thing or two. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. We'll see you next time.